Hello, everybody. You're watching Liquid Lunch on BizTV. I'm Frank Morano, sitting in for John Tobacco. Well, the economy is going to be a big subject of Tuesday night's presidential debate. And you can bet that we're going to hear from Joe Biden that President Trump, through his mismanagement of the coronavirus, has had a deleterious effect on our economy. And President Trump's prescriptions for how to fix the economy have not done the job. Well, one area where it's indisputable that Donald Trump has had a positive impact on our economy is the book publishing industry. You look at the New York Times bestseller list up and down. There's pro-Trump book, anti-Trump book, pro-Trump book, anti-Trump book, and he has certainly been a boon to the publishing industry. Well, publishing is something our next guest certainly knows a lot about. Nina Burleigh is a six-time New York Times best-selling author. Her latest book is The Trump Women Part of the Deal. Nina, thanks so much for joining me on Liquid Lunch.
Thanks for having me.
So it's fair to say that your book does not portray the president in a positive light, right?
Well, I'm not a huge fan of the way that he treats women, but it's really about his family, the women in his family. So the three wives, Ivana, Marla, and now Melania, his mom and his grandma, and Ivanka, his daughter. So the top six women around him. And does he come off, anybody who listened to the Billy Bush tapes, who listens to and believes, as I do, the allegations, knows what he's about. And, it's not terribly uncommon behavior for men of that rank and an age, right? So is it positive? It's not positive. It's not. I tried to be fair. Obviously, I'm not openly. It's well known that I'm not a huge fan of his politics. But I found out some really interesting things about the Trump family and the women in the Trump family that I think kind of explain what he's about in terms of women, and also, the origin story with the immigrants and where these women come from. It's really fascinating, and it's not well known.
Well, that's for sure. So let's talk about the immigration aspect of this. Three of the six women you just referenced, two of his wives and his mom, were all immigrants to this country, right? What do we know about their immigrant story and how it's related Donald Trump's views, or how it's informed his views on either women or immigration?
Sure. Well, actually, it's four women, because his grandmother came over from Germany and could barely speak English, and then her husband, his grandfather, died of the Spanish flu, leaving her a widow with all these children, barely speaking English, at a time in American history when there was a lot of anti-German sentiment. It was right after World War I. They hated the Germans. So she actually picked herself up, and with this tiny nut that this husband left her, created the Trump Organization, literally incorporated the Trump Organization. And it's fascinating because, of course, the son, Fred, Donald's dad, really worked like an ant to build it. But his mother created it before he was old enough. He was 13. So the company was started by a woman. This is, any other political operation in America right now would celebrate these types of things, right? No, not the Trump Organization. Not Trump. They don't talk about the fact that grandmother, and for a long time they even hid that there was that they were German. I mean, Fred Trump's obit in the New York Times says that he was Swedish. He started lying about
that, in your view. Why lie about German heritage? Because
by the Second World War, again, there was enormous anti-German sentiment in this country, right? Remember Hitler? So this was not a good time to be a businessman with a German accent, which he didn't have. He was raised and born here, but he spoke German to his mother. She was part of his life until he was in his 60s. She was in the home. So Donald grew up with one woman, the grandmother, speaking in this heavy German, Eastern, Middle European accent. He's accustomed to that sound. The mother then, Mary Ann Trump, also an immigrant, comes from an outer an outer island off the coast of Scotland. I went there. It's beautiful, but it was impoverished at that period of time. And her family, she was the ninth child of a fisherman. She arrived here at the age of about 17 or 18. Older sisters were already here, and they were all working as domestics. And her first job, I found this in the New York City census, her first job was as a maid in the Carnegie Mansion. So wow. Imagine that. Again, his mother, the mother of the President of the United States, worked as a maid, polishing banisters in one of the great homes of the richest people, the closest thing we have to royalty in this country. That's who his mother is. So you begin to understand the sort of obsession with the royal and the gilded penthouse that he has to have and so on. So that's the second immigrant. And then of course, Ivana was a Czech, grew up speaking Russian, a collectivist educated child in a communist country. Not easy to leave Czechoslovakia in the 60s when she got out of there. You had to have some serious connections. And when I went to Prague, I interviewed a lot of people who studied the secret police and the KGB during the Soviet years, and they said there was something really interesting and strange about her getting out when she got out, right? She was beautiful. You can't tell now she's an older woman. She was this lissom, tall, blonde woman. And she stole his heart, right? And became, wife number one. And she habituated him to the Slavic world. He would have never been going to Russia had he not been with this woman who spoke Russian and was going to translate for Raisa Gorbachev. Yeah. Little known facts. People forget about this. And then finally you get Melania.
Well, so let me ask you a couple. I wish I could keep you for a full hour because I have a number of questions about this book and I'm really looking forward to reading it. And I will point out to your publisher that there are some publishers which will give complimentary books to the folks that are interviewing their authors, but maybe this is not a publisher that's one.
No, they will give you one. They must not know that you want one. Well, I'll have that. That'll be done before we're off the call here.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you. On the Melania front, if you look at a photo of her father, right, Victor Knobs, he looks exactly, not a little bit, exactly like Donald Trump. He even dresses like Donald Trump. What do you think it says about Melania that she would marry a man that looks identical to her father?
Well, I have to say, I don't think it's that unusual. I mean, my dad was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and I have to say that if I look at all my boyfriends, most of them are blonde and blue-eyed, and my husband, who I've been married to for 20 years, kind of looks like, but do I have like a weird incestuous attachment to my dad? No, we have a good relationship. So I don't think that's particularly unusual. It's kind of what you're used to, maybe. I'm not going to go to that she married her daddy, but for sure, Trump and Knobs, from what I know about Knobs, and again, I was in Ljubljana interviewing people, they're kind of cut from the same cloth in a certain social, economic. I mean, obviously Trump is inherited enormous amounts of wealth and is a rich man, and Knobs wasn't, but they're sort of the same kind of provincial, lumbering around. Knobs was known for chasing journalists off with bats. I mean, he has a temper, but also charming, apparently. I didn't meet him, but, reportedly both charming, but also has kind of a sketchy history with the law.
You write in this book, Nina, that Donald Trump actually had a learning disability as a child. What was the learning disability, and how do you think that colored his adulthood and maybe even his presidency?
Well, I don't have medical records on this. What I'm basing it on are descriptions of his childhood from his family and reports that I got from family members who believed that he never, when the joke in the family was when his book, Art of the Deal, came out, their joke was, well, Donald must have read one book finally. He's not a reader. And he had issues as a child growing up. His issues were, misbehavior. He behaved like an ADHD child. He was wild, uncontrollable. The family had to, at age 13, they couldn't handle him, and they sent him off to military school where, he got beaten a lot. And I think he had, clearly he had some issues with learning.
Nina, final question. We only have about 10 seconds. But if there are people that like Donald Trump and are planning to vote for Donald Trump, will they still get something out of reading your book, or is it for Trump critics only?
I think they will get something out of it, very much so. I recommend MAGA 2020 voters. I think it's super interesting. This is a family history, and who these women are and what they're up to is, whether you like him or not, this is an interesting clan.
Well, Nina,
and Ivanka may be put up for president. I predict that she will run for president.
That will be interesting. The book is The Trump Women, Part of the Deal. Its author is Nina Burleigh. Check it out. Thanks so much for the time, Nina.
You're welcome, and thank you.
I'm Frank Morano. You're watching Liquid Lunch on BizTV.